to self-improve. So when they say dumb shit like that, saying, oh, you can't handle a black woman, or why don't you date them? What that really means is, why are you not dealing with the stereotypical, loud, obnoxious, crass, rude black woman? And I'm saying no, because I don't want to date myself. So if I've dated black women before that are polite, feminine, not fat, respectful, speak proper English, they say ask instead of ax, like all these things. And that's what I like. So if I'm going to be around that, great. I don't really care about skin color like that. I have a preference. It just so happens that a lot of the times black women don't adhere to these preferences because they're indoctrinated to have this mindset of.
You think that it's best that guys get burned early? Because it seems like once guys get resources and get money, that it really becomes an issue.
Yeah,
and I'm not sure if they learned the lesson.
I think early. Once you get money and resources, then she's playing for keeps. Like this girl right now going after Shannon Sharp, she's playing for keeps. So it's like, and they have an incentive to do so. When you're broke and you're a nobody, like, are they incentivized to go after you as hard? Probably not. Then maybe they'll embarrass you in the neighborhood. Oh yeah, weirdo, blah, blah, blah. That's cool. You can move and be fine. But when you got some money and your resources, and this is why it's so bad for young guys. Oh, dude. The young guys that like aren't red pill aware and get some money and status, they get cooked the worst. It's better for you to almost like be broke, make these mistakes as you're coming up, then get the money, understand women, and then you're in a much more, you're in a much better position because then you can mitigate the risk, or you already know how to deal with certain women off of how they come at you. You're like, oh yeah, this girl's a thought, I got to deal with her this way. Okay, this girl, I can maybe let her in a little bit, but like you get that wisdom from failing, and you got to fail it. You almost got to fail when you're broke, because you kind of see how you see the real side of females. Like when you don't have all your stuff together, you don't have money like that yet. You really get to see like the dark side of hypergamy. And I think men need to be exposed to that, to see how callous and how cold women can really be when they're not interested in you. Because I truly think like women are much more cold-blooded than men are, way more, especially when they're not interested. Their interest in men drop off precipitously, way faster. They're more likely to end relationships. They're more likely to break your heart without you even knowing about it, because they broke up with you 6 months. They've already been plotting the breakup. So like with women, I think men need to experience that, because this kind of insulates you from making those mistakes later on when it's going to cost you significantly more money.
What do you say about the chat saying that you can't pull a black woman?
I would say, why would I? Why would I? You can have them, bro.
Why wouldn't you?
They could have them, man. I'm not competing for LaQuisha. You guys can have them, man.
Well, every black woman ain't LaQuisha. What you mean?
Look, I say that's look, I'm fucking around. But the when they say dumb shit like that, oh, you can't pull a black woman, like that's just like cope a lot of the times, because they're saying what that really. Let me decode the stupidity for you. When people say dumb shit like that, translation, you're not willing to tolerate the bad behavior that naturally comes with a lot of black women. Because let's be honest, let's deal with the stereotypes here, right? I'm an open racist towards everybody. Let's deal with the black stereotypes. Black women are fat, loud, crass, annoying, have attitudes, and they don't respect male authority. There's a bunch of reasons for that.
All right. As we can see, we getting in here hot right now. This is Anton Daniels and his After Hours panel. His family, you got Slimmy, Molly, Carrie, Q Diddy, Mika, Kimmy, the Gemini. She's kind of new, but she's been around here and there. And then you got the boy Anton. And on this night, they had Myron Gaines present. And he's shooting some game, man. And one of the things I really wanted to talk about, he's going to hit on later in this video, is I feel that feminism has overtaken family. And he's going to talk about it in a little bit. But I'm going to give my 2 cents on that too. But as you see now, he's talking about tolerating the bad habits of black women. And it's something that a lot of people don't want to talk about. And you guys know on my channel, I have to always talk about interracial dating. I'm a big fan of interracial dating. I date outside of my race, so I support it fully. And I think a lot of the things that he says, even though they're harsh, it's reality. And I think sometimes we have to accept our reality and what we're actually living in and be okay with that. With that being said, I'm going to play more of this video, and then we're going to go from there.
For this, but I'll go over simply. The average black woman weighs 187 pounds. A lot of them are grow up in a single mother household where they're told every single day, niggas ain't shit. There is no patriarch in the family a lot of the times. This is just what goes on. Then when you listen to the rap music, what are they saying? Fuck niggas, get money, blah, blah, blah. It's just shitting on black men all day. And then the black men that are in their life a lot of the times, not every single time, But a lot of the times they're criminals, they're fathers that weren't there, they're crooks, and it's just like a never-ending cycle where there's no real patriarch in the household. And then on top of that, you know, we since women, a lot of black women grow up without men in the house, they end up becoming extremely masculine. Now, this is fantastic when it comes to survival, getting a job, making your way through life, but this is terrible when it comes to attracting masculine men. Masculine men don't want masculine women in return. That would make you probably more than likely gay if you're attracted to yourself, right? And I always use the analogy because whenever
That's your lane, Molly.
because here's the thing with black women, right? They'll sit there and they'll say, "Oh, you can't handle me," and I'll say, "Why the fuck should I?" Because let me tell you this: if you went up to a black woman, and you said, "Hey, look, I like to wear heels on Saturdays," she'll be like, "Ew, what the fuck?" She'd curve you, rightfully so. That's weird. But why is it that we're supposed to accept masculine black women when they would never accept feminine black men? They never would. So why the hell should I accept a woman that behaves like a man when she would never accept me for behaving like a woman? And this is the insane double standard where they'll sit there and say, "You need to expect me the way that I accept me the way that I come," but women never accept us the way that we come. We have to self-improve. Why don't they have to self-improve? So when they say dumb shit like that, saying, "Oh, you can't handle a black woman," or "Why don't you date them?" What that really means is, why are you not dealing with the stereotypical, loud, obnoxious, crass, rude black woman? And I'm saying no, because I don't want to date myself. So if I've dated black women before that are polite, feminine, not fat, respectful, speak proper English, you know, they say ask instead of acts, like all these things. And that's what I like. So if I'm going to be around that, great. I don't really care about skin color like that. I have a preference. It just so happens that a lot of the times black women don't adhere to these preferences because they're indoctrinated to have this mindset of, let me challenge a man, let me be rambunctious, let me go ahead and chase a career and basically be the man that I want to get. And I'm not with that.
Hey, I want to stop there first because that's something that I always speak about is I think it's very funny how men who date outside of their race that our society as black men or other black women can accept that you just don't fit the bill for me. I'm not saying it because I know I put videos out there about interracial dating, and all the black women come into the comments and say, you can date outside your race, you just don't need to put down black women. Putting down black women will be me pointing out something that is like inaccurate or saying every woman. I don't feel every black woman is that way. My mother's was black. My sisters are black. So I understand that not all black women come off this way, but the majority that he's talking about, the stereotypical black women that get to take over social media are loud, overweight, very masculine, and are telling women to be single and do what you need to do, girl, be independent, when they have nobody. And you should never listen to a person who doesn't have what you're looking to have or obtain, or who hasn't already proven that they can obtain it, and i.e. they're married now.
That's fair.
How do you feel about that, Kim?
I agree with a lot of what he said. I've said before, I don't think that just in general, we'll even speak on black women because that's who he's talking about. I don't think that black women are taught to be wives. Whereas, you know, this black woman, if she's going to college to get her degree, these white girls were taught to be wives. They were taught to look for a man to take care of them. They were taught to look for husbands. They're going to college to look for a husband. They're going to be more submissive. They're going to be more passive because they're playing the long game.
And you want to hear something crazy too? You know, it's funny. The white girls be the biggest hoes. I'd be warning people with these college-educated white girls. Like, if they join a sorority and shit like that, I tell guys all the time, like, bro, you know, you also don't want to wife up a whore. So, like, you know, what ends up happening a lot of times with black women, because black women typically only want to be, black women are very narrow in what they like a lot of times. They prefer black men overwhelmingly. But the problem on the black male side is black men will take whatever, right? So that's kind of the issue where you run into a problem with a lot of black women. Also, black women tend to favor looks a lot more than other races. Which is, I guess, maybe a masculine trait. But black women tend to be more interested in the way that they dress, the way they conduct themselves, you know, the way they look, etc. Like, it's very interesting how I've noticed that with black women, they tend to be the race that is very interested in the way a man looks, which is fine. You can have your preferences, but what the problem with that is it dilutes the marketplace of men that you are going to open yourself up to. And when black women go to college and they educate themselves, etc., they kind of bring that percentage down even more so as they climb up the ranks. But like with white girls, you know, you're right. They go to college. They're looking for a husband while they're there in school a lot of times, because a lot of times they don't even want to work their shitty ass, you know, HR job that they end up getting. But they end up being hoes a lot of the times, if we're going to be honest. So, that's another thing that I tell guys to watch out for when it comes to the white girls, because every every group of women has their stereotypes that guys got to look out for.
Carrie, what do you think? Carrie, what do you think about the narrative between black, white cultural norms, black women not necessarily being taught to look for husbands, all of that type of stuff? What do you think about everything that's being communicated in a general sense?
I agree with a lot of what he just said. I don't know if it's that women are not necessarily being taught to be wives per se, as much as taught to be wives that men want. Because everybody is not taught to go be an independent woman void of a man. Like some women are genuinely taught to go marry, but they're also taught to have a career at the same time. They're taught to have kids, but they're taught to go get an education. They're not taught to not be a wife, but they're also not necessarily taught to prioritize being a wife. They're not necessarily taught the characteristics that a husband that they want would actually be looking for.
So
because everybody doesn't come from a broken home either. I mean, I know a lot, we say that a lot, and I'm not downing the numbers on it, but everybody doesn't come from a broken home. A lot of people have a 2-parent example, but they might not necessarily know how to be the wife
I
that
would
they want
say
the husband
it's not
for.
just a black issue. It's a whole U.S. issue. The nuclear family has been destroyed, and there's a bunch of reasons for that. You know, feminism, etc., has been, I think, one of the biggest problems when it comes to degradation of the nuclear family. But what I will say is, because you mentioned a good point, that women, like, you know, they're told to go to school and pursue. And I would say, right, if someone wanted to lose weight, right, and they truly wanted to change their body, they would have to change everything about their lifestyle. They'd have to start going to sleep 8 to 10 hours a night. They'd have to prioritize going to the gym. They would have to change their entire lifestyle around to be able to achieve that goal. Here's the problem. We tell women that they can kind of live their life the way that they want, and there's going to be a good man at the end waiting for them. And the problem is, if you want a guy to take care of you, well, then you need to be in a position where you're prioritizing finding that guy. Because the days of, and this is kind of the conundrum of feminism, right? So what feminism effectively did was it gave women the autonomy to pursue a career, make their own money, and become successful and be on their own. But what that also did was it ostracizes the average man from the dating and relationship marketplace, because women will never admit this, but I'll say it for you guys. There's nothing worse for a woman than settling on a guy that she feels that she could do better than, right? And what ends up happening is, with a lot of average men, 5'8", making 30 to 50K per year, a lot of women see better than that in America. Even average looking women feel that they could do better than that, right? There's nothing worse than an average guy to a majority of women. So what women do is they'll go to school, they'll pursue an education, they'll become successful. And what they're hoping is that there's going to be a guy more successful, more attractive, more ambitious than her at the end of that road. But what she's effectively done, because she's become average herself or better than average, is she's just now ostracized a majority of men that would have been a great candidate for her before. But feminism has made it where women are told not to settle, become independent. But you got to ask yourself, who are they been independent of?
So as you see there, thought it was a very, very good conversation. And what really got me wanting to react to this video was that I feel feminism has outweighed family. I feel that building a family is like literally the last thing on the minds of women today. I think having kids, women, and it's funny to me because we all know the dangers of women having children at later ages. We know the rate, especially, is already hard for African American women to have birth anyway. And just imagine your age, trying to keep your eggs, things of that nature that can become very expensive as well. But it's very unique to me that Black women have allowed society, and when I say society, has allowed social media to kind of shape their mind to think that being a wife isn't the greatest prize. And I feel like that's one of the biggest failures, is that understanding that feminism, your education, your job, the money that you're worth won't ever bring you true value. Being a wife, possibly being a mother, if you can bear children, is the ultimate success as a woman. And just like a man, finding a wife is the ultimate success for a man. Finding that person that you can spend the rest of your life with, finding that person that you can make a house or home with, all those type of things I feel are very successful. I know I joke a lot on my page. I know I joke a lot on reaction videos. With that being said, I really feel that Myron hit it on the head that everything that they're telling women to do, especially in that black society and the black culture, has really hindered the success of black families. And as you see, like, I grew up in Louisiana, and I go home all the time, and I see all my white friends. They're all married, have 3, 4, 5, 6 kids. They're all playing little league baseball in the same neighborhood that we grew up in. Um, the Caucasian race is built to raise families, and they understand the benefit of raising families. And I'm not here to say that that we have all the resources they have. With that being said, it's still very important that women need to understand that feminism does not outweigh family. And getting your education means nothing if you have nothing to show for it. And I think we feel money, physical things, materialistic things is what we have to show for it. And I don't feel like that has a lot of value, because with that being said, if you think about the Bible said, "I'll know you by your fruits." And I really don't think fruits are material things. It can be. With that being said, I think fruits of your labor is more of your generations, the things that you leave behind, the, um, the things that grow from what you have planted, knowledge, wisdom, education, strength, maturity, those things that you can see within your children as they get older, or a lot of the things where I could show you what your fruits are. You being wealthy just because you went to college are not really your fruits. Those are things that, okay, you got it, you went to class, you passed tests, you got a degree, and you got a good job. But then what do you have to show for that? Why did you get that good career? Why did you go through all that schooling? Did you only do it to please yourself, or did you want to grow with somebody? So I think this was a very, very good video. You can go to Anton Daniels at After Hours, and you can see the whole entire show, which was like 3 hours, but this clip was about 18 minutes. But I thought Myron made a lot of good facts. I actually wrote some notes down here, and he was stating that, dating outside of your race, he doesn't tolerate bad habits. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of men are starting to really look at too, is that we don't have to settle, and we don't have to tolerate. And that's any race. He was talking about dating outside his race. I talk about dating outside my race, but the topic they were really hitting on was black women. And I think it's very important that black women need to understand that sometimes you have to alter the way that you think things should be to make sure that you can have the things that you want. Um, and I think something that he didn't really hit on, and I thought he was going to hit on because he made the statement, but he was saying when you want to change habits, you have to change everything. And he gave the example of like a diet and eating healthy to change your body. And I really feel that we now have to go through a reprogramming. When I say we, I think black society, black culture need to go through a reprogramming of what we really want things to look like for our society and our culture. And I feel like you have to break all the things down. You have to get rid of all the bad habits. You have to go back to square one and find out what works for you. No one's going to have the same path. No one's going to have the same ideas. With that being said, when you take away those bad habits, you're able to form new habits, and you're able to move forward. With that being said, like I end every video, God loves you, which is most importantly. I love you. You're beautiful, and your boy's out. There you go.